And here we are, ladies and gents. The first series of Hidden Cup 5. I'm just going to say right now, thank you to everyone who's played their role. Thank you to everyone who watches this in the future. I am incredibly excited for this. Now, I want to briefly explain as we have Ethiopians, I want to briefly explain just some core differences here with Capture Age. We've got resources on map that we're going to toggle to on occasion there on screen. So that is something we have, could be particularly useful if resources start to run out. Also, the unique texts are now shown on screen at the top if this goes late and we see some of those unique texts. Bottom left has a lot of info. We definitely don't want that info right now. Mapu is going to kick himself, and he's going to be like, oh, yeah, T90 talks crap to the observer. But we do have the wonderful Mapu who's going to click the table on the bottom left just to toggle over to the normal stats for us. But Ethiopians against Slavs is not what I was expecting as far as civilizations go here. And, man, I mean, Ethiopian play rate was incredibly low during the main event. During the qualifier and during, like, most main events, in all honesty. So, Vasco da Gama, Ethiopians, maybe an archer player here versus a player who's more suited for the more expansive farming eco. Now, the way Slopes typically plays out is he's got options on the sides. And so the side options are important for the early game for food. I could definitely see both players wanting to open up their Hidden Cup, open up their Hidden Cup series without taking a lot of risk here, though. So I think my prediction on Slopes is we're going to see quite a bit of deer pushing from the sides and not too many players actually building mills out there. But if you do build mills out there, you've got the shorefish and you also have the deer. And then there's lots of action through the middle, potentially, where there's stone and gold around. And then there's always resources to the side. And that's always the tricky thing. I see the gold is shaped like an H. So is this Hera confirmed here in the blue? Wouldn't that be something? That would be crazy. Can you imagine, guys? Can you imagine? I imagine it's extremely unlikely, but, maybe that's a tell. I don't know. Hera shaped his gold like an H for us here. Or maybe that's where Vasco da Gama's helicopter lands. It could be one or the other. We also have some cool stats that are going to come up at the conclusion of games, which I think people are going to be really happy with. But man, oh man, am I excited here to see how things play out. Should be a great time, guys. So, best of 7. We don't know who we're looking at here. This could be two of the favorites, maybe the Viper against Hera in the first round. It's completely random seeding. And now we look and we see if there's any tendencies here. Now, I am seeing a barracks right now from Pachacuti. And I will point out that having covered every game from the qualifier, there were 2 players in that qualifier who went for 2 militia into scouts. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of the game here, but 2 militia into scouts was Barles and Ganji, and 2 players that know each other very well who are in the main event. I think those are the only players who ended up qualifying who did that. It's quite rare. And I think that we're going to see some militia coming out here from Pachacuti. On the other side, Vasco da Gama just seems to be streamlining a build towards maybe Russian feudal age here. And maybe something like archers. I see some questions coming in for wondering, when do we find out who these people are? Well, you don't find out who any of these players are until the reveal on the final day. So, and believe me, if you've never watched the Hidden Cup before, you are going to be certain of who a player is. And then you're going to see another series and then second guess yourself. And you're going to see another series and second guess yourself. There could be some big surprises. There go those 2 militia. Now, since this is a fixed map, those 2 militia going forward, they should know pretty much where to go. And also, it's another small point. If you would like to, potentially have your meme shown on screen, we've got the HC5 hashtag. We have the Hidden Cup 5 hashtag, or you could... It looks like production has actually shown us a meme from 3 years ago from Gamer Legion. Wow. Your meme's going to have to be really good, guys, to get it shown up if it was 3 years ago, but it's a classic Hidden Cup meme. And thank you, Gamer Legion, 3 years ago. I'm sure Gamer Legion present day might be very curious as well, as their players are in this tournament. Now, like we said, 2 militia here for some early map control. Vasco hasn't been scouting much. And this is going to be fast archers with the Ethiopians, which might be common for a lot of normal players, but at the pro level, players have not really been going for Ethiopians that frequently. And we should see these militia dive in. Now, where do they go? I think you've got to go to the wood here. And let's see if the quick walls are in here for Vasco da Gama. Is Vasco da Gama going to see this? Vasco da Gama does not see this. Villagers are trapped. Villagers could be in trouble here. And immediately the villagers actually pull together to fight that back. So no quick walls yet, and just extreme confidence here from Vasco da Gama. This attack gets so much more potent in 50 seconds, though, once Pachacuti is in the feudal age. But, you know, it's tricky. These are top 16 players. So it's hard to say, you know, which player has a lot of confidence fighting back drushes. It could be all of them, but nice job here from Vasco da Gama to get the weak villager wedged in there. And Pachacuti does seem to lack some confidence. Like, the skill that he's the other side definitely seems to have him uneasy at the moment. But he's in the next stage, and now that scout is attacking faster, and all the save? No way! Vasco da Gama had the spearman there in the perfect time. The scout cannot engage. And what an interesting start here, folks. I mean, we had different builds, different ideas with the strategy. One player walling up behind some militia. The other player going just fast feudal. And now this game's going to settle down a little bit. Archers are obviously going to be out for Vasco. But Vasco's not really going to be able to do much damage here. The walls are up for Pachacuti already. Now, I don't want to spoil too much too early here, because I have the idea of Hidden Cup 5 is to have a lot of continuous content, and you know, I want every day to be an experience, right? However, I should mention it. Pachacuti picked green for this game. Now, we're not going to use certain color combinations because color blindness is a thing, and it can be awkward to view sometimes. But if you see that little green 3 at the bottom right, guys, that little green 3, that is the color that the player actually selected. So this player came in here and actually selected green in-game. And some players are known for picking certain colors, which, again, we'll touch on. But I felt it was worth pointing out. It doesn't seem like Vasco da Gama's archers are really going to accomplish too much here. Scout runs through, and that's really nice scouting, actually. Runs through to see the archer range, to know there's skirms, and those archers immediately hightail it back home. But I could also see Pachacuti realizing, okay, I've been seen now. Maybe I should be a little hesitant about moving out. Yeah, also seeing his opponent's just now going to gold. So if his opponent's just now going to gold, it's definitely not archers, and it might be skirms. And this Vasco character seems pretty confident, I have to say, with the unit control. Didn't lose a villager, of course, to the drush, which could have potentially caused some problems. Also, not forcing the timings on the upgrades. Right? Some players, when they go archers, they're going to go for the upgrades, and by the time they get over there, then the upgrades are going to be nothing against skirms. So really patient play. That is also something that typically happens here on slopes. So it's super tough. But I wouldn't mind maybe our stats people to work on it and tell us how many times Ethiopians were picked during the qualifier. So kind of the design that I like when it comes to tournaments, guys, is have like a qualifier stage, kind of set the meta, and then you shift the draft a little bit once the meta is quote unquote understood. And then at that point, you make an adjustment. Now, market coming up, there are players who are more suited, like more commonly using the market early. I think of players like Doubt, for example. I think of players like Barrels. I think of players like Ganji, actually. Those would be the 3 that use the market the most. We do have some stats on that. But we've got the H-shaped golds, and we've got archers, Ethiopians here from Vasco da Gama, and this is going to go to Castle Age. And this is where we really get to find out who this player is potentially, because number one player I think of when it comes to archers would be Leary. And there's been a lot of speculation on Leary. It's been like, is Leary going to be... Is he going to step it up here? Most recent tournament, NAC, he did struggle compared to where he typically falls into place amongst our pro scene. Nice reactions here from both players, and we're on our way to Castle Age with similar times, guys. Let's go. Let's freaking go. This should be sick. I'm settling down at the moment, guys. I'm sure you can imagine. But it's like, I actually am not looking at how many viewers we have watching currently. It is actually purely just watching the games. Like, this is a brainchild. A brainchild? A brain... I think brainchild's the saying. Whatever the saying is, this is a brainchild of mine from years ago, you know, that is built up to something bigger. And it's also been 3 years since Hidden Cup 4. So to be back, man, to be casting these games like this is an exciting time. Yeah, brain fart and brainchild simultaneous there. Yeah, good call there. Nice to see Nilly in chat. Look at the activity from Vasco. We need to see his fog of war here. Look how active he is and where he's being active right now. He really understands the map. On the right side, he can see the scout moving. And yeah, I mean, he's just like active on both sides because, guys, on slopes, you're going to see some players prioritize that side's expansion, and you'll see other players expand towards the middle. Now, I see a villager potentially coming forward. This could be for a siege push. And it's really interesting because there's a stable there too. So it feels like a knight or two can help against skirms. Actually, there's even additional scouts. Wow, additional scouts. Okay, that's smart. Looping in. Really zooming around, looking for the eco from Pachacuti. And we'll see the town centers. You know, it's so funny, guys. I see forward siege push, and I suddenly start to think maybe someone like MBL. MBL loves his siege pushing. He loves his walls in this game. The siege pushing does feel natural here to punish this, though. So it's really tricky, man. And the quick walls here from Pachacuti. He said, you thought that Vasco was Hera or Vasco was Viper. What about me? And well, that villager is actually house-walled on the other side. That villager now dies, and this is still very bad for Pachacuti. And that siege workshop is needed, and this is going to be a whole lot of pressure coming in against Pachacuti here with a civilization that typically needs a little bit more time to get the eco rolling. And so that passive play... Oh, God, this is actually really difficult right now for our red player. But that passive play for Pachacuti, so rather for Vasco, has opened up this opportunity. Scout's still moving around all the time. And there are the crossbows. There are some tiny little details you can look at when it comes to really trying to decide on who the players are, such as how they use their formations, even with their crossbows. Man, the confidence from Vasco da Gama is insane. This pressure is unbelievable. And we got some nice quick walls here from Pachacuti. I mean, I would be dead already. No elite skirm upgrade. The skirms won't offer much. The knight runs through. There is going to be some siege. That mangonel could help here. The knight is weak. With that knight being weak, it won't offer too much, and the micro's needed, and the crossbows actually dove underneath the shot. It was unbelievable. I almost think we're going to need a replay on that one to see that. He dove underneath the shot and then backed away. And that is some confidence right there from Vasco da Gama. Now, that TC is going to go up. Vill count is currently even. But this is definitely the point of the game where you need to have that mango micro on point, because when there's knights out there, you need your attack rounds to land, and those knights are going to dive underneath the TC, and they're going for the mangonels. The mangonels could be repaired. The knight also weak. The knight does get pulled away. It just seems like the idle time right now for Pachacutis, and it just got to be ridiculously high. Like, there's no way this eco is actually efficient. How are you supposed to properly place farms when there's this much aggression coming towards you? 2 town centers behind this for Vasco. I'd love to find a moment to look at that, but it doesn't feel like there's a relevant moment right now because all the pressure is coming in his base. Imagine random seeding, right? You've trained a week and a half for this event. You know everyone's going to be watching you. You know, depending on what type of player you are, this is maybe your dream moment. And then you're just getting completely smashed all the time. Again, it's the siege that really has to make the difference. Now that there's monks, though, if the knights dive, the monks could convert the knights. It is possible to defend this if you're Pachacuti, but everything could go wrong if the reverse happens and the crossbows somehow kill the monks. TC's still almost going down. Split shot here from Vasco da Gama. And again, Vasco's going to dive. The monk hops out on the other side, and the knight has to run away. Finally, there's a conversion, but this is just nonstop. Both TCs are getting pressured now. Look at that eco behind this from Vasco da Gama as well. Random pikeman getting a kill on a scout. Finally, a shot. Is this a moment for Pachacuti to hold? This would be crazy if Pachacuti could defend from this. Does lose the siege. That knight actually is super weak there as well for Vasco. Anyone else kind of like overwhelmed at the moment for Pachacuti? In the hero video, we had our editing team. I forget if it was Hardy or Tiermis, but whoever edited that had a patch and then a cute cat for Pachacuti. And I say that because Pachacuti is going to need a whole lot of patches. Both DCs are on fire. Siege push through the middle all the time. Also, I mean, Vasco just doesn't rest. It's insane. Look at this micro underneath the TCs. Knows the T. Oh my God. Knows the TC won't be garrisoned for much longer. Is underneath the TC. The TC will go down. And Vasco da Gama just completely wrecks Pachacuti to start off the game. An incredible start here. Also, a peek at our Twitch chat as well. We'll play their Twitch chat with the GGs. Anyways, I mean, wasn't the longest one to really sum up here, folks, as we have the KD. Now, I do want to go back, if possible, here, Mapu. I want to show people what to expect. We can go return to map, because something we added here, which is really nice, is we have the top 3 created units. Now, obviously, at this point, it was a relatively short game, but this is something to now look for, folks, at the end of a game, if you want to really get a proper sum of what happened throughout a match. That was a really nice feature we added here for Hidden Cup. But yeah, I mean, obviously the KD was rough. I actually would love to look back at Vasco's eco, just his actual economy, not even just the resources, just to see like what's he doing at his base. Because those 3 TCs, I mean, the way he's played this is amazing. Look at that. Not one single misplaced farm. The positioning on everything's great. And then he also has the 3rd TC towards the middle. Beautiful stuff. I mean, see, there's a lot of players, guys, even in this top 16, who cannot execute like that on a crossbow siege push. Because when you're booming, when you're on 3 town centers, you usually are using all your time on that. And you might make a mistake there on the front. But there were no mistakes there from Vasco. Well played. And, man, I mean, what do people think already? I guess is the question. There's the economy, and we'll move on. Whoa, it's evacuation! Ladies and gents, welcome to evacuation. And this is the first time that we will see this in Hidden Cup. This is a brand new map, and we just talked about preparation, right? We talked about the need to use that practice period and the beauty of players being able to show strategy that have not been seen publicly yet in the main event. Well, we have that right here. Now, I want to explain the map first, right? You start off on the cracked terrain and then move into the grassy area where there's a lot more resources. You're going to have more food out there, more wood, definitely more wood, more stone, more gold. And on that area, by the crossing, the players always have some resources they can expect. So you can see the scouts actually over there now. Yeah, that boar and then the deer and the berries. I'm really curious on how much of a role this actually plays. And we are going to see Vasco da Gama use the scouts to bring in the boar. Oh my goodness. Can we just, is this it? Is this the end of Hidden Cup? I'm so happy right now. This is sick. People saying MBL confirmed right now because the boar is being utilized. But, you know, you've got 2 rhinos available at near your T. And then you also have that boar. And I was very curious to see what players would do here. Now, in order to get these maps in the main event, we had high-level players who lost in the qualifiers play games with me and against each other. So we probably had maybe like 30 or so games on versions to get to this point. Now, I'm loving this. Now, we have some movement over on Pachacuti's side as well here. And Pachacuti's actually going to place the lumber camp out there. So this is incredible, right? Because you have one player deciding, I need to chop lumber on the outside. And then you have the other player deciding, it's not worth it for me to walk that far. I can at least for now take the wood towards the middle. Now, what I'll say is if you're trying to guess people, it's going to be very hard based on this because you guys have never seen this map before. But the Sicilians thing makes me think this is Fast Castle. Sicilians and the U Pudding Rush, which I made many videos about, is the Donjon Rush with Sergeants. And so Sicilians is like not a civilization which I feel excels in the long term. Now, this is interesting. Pachacuti's actually fighting that scout. They're looking for the extra cows now, too. which you can scout for out there. And Pachacuti will realize that that scout is weak, and so he could chase that scout all the way home. Man, there's almost too many things I need to talk about for you guys, but we're going to keep it moving here, right? This is a beauty of a map. This is a beauty of a start to Hidden Cup, and we've got that dock on the back side for Vasco, which needs to be pointed out. He's going to be fishing, which, again, we'll see here in a moment. And, yeah, both players actually going to be fishing. What is this? Thanks to this Lowy the Legend, we can enjoy another great AoE2 tournament. Let's go. My money is on auto. Why did you... I guess it is my Twitter photo, so it's my fault. But thank you for that. Thank you. Very happy you're excited. I just need to know, is this feudal age aggression or is this fast castle? Because if you're going for feudal age aggression, there is so much reward. Villagers are so exposed all the time. And your fish would be rather exposed as well. Now, they have docked towards the back, which would give them a little bit more time. But there's so much potential here. Now, you are seeing already that it's tough for Pachacuti to be able to make the fishing ship because the lumber camp is so far away. So the way I describe Hidden Cup and a lot of the maps that are made specifically for Hidden Cup is pros and cons, right? And the most important thing, and I think the beauty of Age of Empires 2, is scouting, right? And the players should be trying to look for what the opponent's doing. But it's obviously very difficult to do that on this map because there's so many things to do. And it seems like Vasco da Gama is choosing to just go find the cows right now. And Vasco is also clicked up. We have one villager there. Just one villager. Makes me think... Oh, it's a lumber camp. I was going to say, makes me think maybe there's going to be a barracks or something. But more villagers follow. Now, if you control the water, you control the crossing as well. Which means then the opponent's economy is blocked off from the rest of the map. But of course, if you invest into water, then you can't necessarily protect the land. So anyways, I'm very excited to see how this goes. Well, we didn't have many MBL guesses in the first round. MBL, the player who's known for understanding the boars. His username, MBL, actually is his initials. So a lot of people think it is Master Boar Lamer. Maybe we could just pretend his parents named him Master Boar Lamer, because then it could still be his initials, and then it just makes everybody happy. Any scouting here from Vasco? Does Vasco see that? Vasco is looking. He's looking big time. He's looking to see if Pachacuti has done anything on the land. And there you have Pachacuti now scouting and seeing the barracks as well. We have a quick wall attempt from Vasco. Confirmed not to be Viper because he missed that one. And so now Pachacuti will have to think, okay, my opponent has a barracks. Ooh, lame attempt. Lame attempt there. Vasco stealing some resources. Second dock from Pachacuti. Again, so many things happening. And it'll be double dock for Pachacuti into fire galleys to kill the fish. Is actually making fire galleys without knowing the opponent, without confirming the opponent has actually gone for fish, which is interesting. And I think Vasco also does not know his opponent has gone for double dock. Yeah, so there's Pachacuti. So you're just assuming there's fish, which is, of course, correct here. I think Vasco is not scouted the dock either. I played a lot of games on this map. It's really tricky to know everything. So on some level, you're taking calculated risks. And obviously, this is an area that needs to be scouted. And right now, Vasco will probably assume the opponent is not out there. Certainly knows the opponent didn't take the boar. So it is Archer and Galley opening for Vasco da Gama. And still, this has not been spotted. Now, guys, if there's Archers and the Archers go here, if they were to see that, if this were to be a thorough check of the situation here from Vasco, which is insane. A lot of people would assume the opponent is not here right now, but now confirms if the Archers go there, it can be really strong. And there's Pachacuti actually crossing on the other side. Now, there go the Archers through the middle. There's going to need to be some level of defense for that. And we actually have the donjon defense. Wow! So, you've got the donjon to protect your golden stone. And then the sergeants could potentially deal with the archers. And then you've got fire galleys now moving in towards the galleys. So a lot of work for Vasco in terms of his micro. Vasco drops a tower there next to the wood and the berries. And this is a very difficult map. I'm surprised Pachacuti decided to go for this map after losing the first game. It must be belief in the Sicilian strategy, but here are the archers. Look what Vasco's done. He didn't go to the main eco at all. Came directly here with those 2 archers. Microing away. No fletching. A new dungeon has to be placed here from Pachacuti. Pachacuti really struggling. The micro has been fantastic here from Vasco da Gama all series so far. And seems to me like in the end, there won't be too many villagers that die here. But still really nice control for Vasco. And Vasco also did micro the galleys perfectly as well. Vasco's micro is insane. To be able to micro down and push away the fires while simultaneously getting the archers where he needed them is ridiculous. Also, of course, denied that mill could shoot down the deer and will shoot down the deer. Yeah, Vasco's playing incredible Age of Empires right now. Obviously up 1-0 already. We start to see some farms from Pachacuti here. And I'm beginning to get some doubt vibes at the moment. Any other fans out there thinking doubt for Pachacuti? You have like the Sicilian strat, which he's done in the past, the early market. I don't know. Picking Sicilians after you've lost a game, it's such a rare pick. People, someone just said, Pachacuti is not doubt, he quick-walled. Doubt could quick-wall. I love it. I love it. Here come the sergeants. Now, where sergeants become really strong is in Castle Age. That's where they get the extra armor. I'm curious to see how these sergeants do now. It's kind of hard to see the villager HP. In the first game, we saw Vasco fight off army with villagers. And we're seeing a similar thing here. And honestly, the micro from Pachacuti is not great there. And we still have other things happening on the other side, which is probably why we've got galleys near the fish. Vasco da Gama playing amazing. There's the galley still being microed. This is insane play from Vasco. Look at the eco balance as well, guys. It's perfectly set up to maybe go to Castle Age. And there's the market. Listen, guys. Now, I don't know if we'll have an overlay for it, but Doubt builds the market earlier than any other player in the top 16. Now, it's very close, actually, with Ganji and Barles, which were other players I speculated on. They build their markets pretty quickly as well, but just saying, might be something to think about here as we see Vasco da Gama on the way to the next stage. I would feel very... I would feel very overwhelmed right now if I were Pachacuti. Like, because I think the pressure that Vasco's able to put on is obvious for us because it's all being sent towards Pachacuti. And imagine having to deal with this all the time. It really hasn't felt like Pachacuti's been able to take an advantage in any of the games so far. Now, I think the water element can bring you back into the game. I also think that sergeants can be really strong, but still no Castle Age click for Pachacuti. We'll see that now after the blacksmith completes. Vasco da Gama sticking with that blue color here come game number 2. Pachacuti came into this game with green. The player who picks green the most in tournaments is Leary. We have lots of data we'll share with you on that. It doesn't seem to me like Pachacuti is playing with Leary style. Leary, honestly, could maybe be some of the guesses for Vasco da Gama because of his technical micro ranged ability. Okay, guys, if Pachacuti gets housed, MBL confirmed. We have a transport ship? Huh? We got a transport ship being made by Pachacuti? We'll see what that does. For all the MBL guessers, MBL does typically get housed. And I'm seeing 49 out of 50 population space right now for Pachacuti. Okay, never mind. Made a house in time, not MBL confirmed. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Here go the crossbows. I mean, again, these are sergeants that aren't upgraded to Castle Age yet. Like, the crossbow window is huge. And I think from here, if you can just expand your economy on the mainland, you'll be in a really good spot. Actually see a lot of red movement near where a TC foundation is. Oh, dude. Guys, these sergeants are about to become much stronger. Oh, man. Okay, Vasco, how are your quick walls here? Sergeants are pretty slow. And Vasco just has to abandon the TC. And Pachacuti's going to build a dungeon on it. So we have double dungeon defense. We have dungeon offense. And we have full Sicilian power here from Pachacuti, who, of course, lost that first game. TC gets deleted here. And Vasco's probably like, you've got to be kidding me. Again, those sergeants are strong now, though. They get a lot of extra armor and HP. And we have +2 armor coming in. And we've also got squires coming in for speed. So certainly, sergeants were the main reason for the strategy here for Pachacuti. Res collected isn't looking fantastic. But once its armor pops, a tower's certainly not going to be enough. Look how strong it is right now. Even before the armor, these sergeants are insane. The Vasco's going to need knights there. Now, he's parked his crossbows at his opponent's base, so there is that happening too. But the sergeants are making progress. That one sergeant died very far away from the tower. Maybe just got hit by the tower at the last second. And here go the sergeants here. But, you know, the theme for me... Oh, a couple crossbows got picked off there. The theme for me definitely seems to be... It's like Vasco's like, sure, you sergeants are strong against archers, but I could just micro you down from distance. Lots of confidence plays here from Vasco da Gama. Clearly, the strategy for Pachacuti is to try and stop the expansion. And if there were another area of the game where the Sicilians are strong, it would be their late game. It would be the boomy types of games. It's just rare because they don't have any early bonuses. It is rare to sometimes see that actually play a role. 4 knights should beat 4 sergeants, but if there's a couple monks in there, it would change things. No monks yet. There's a villager walking across the map hoping to do that. And now the crossbows are diving onto the wood line and sitting right underneath the dungeon. That is so smart from Vasco. And now you've got sergeants here. This map is crazy. He's like, go to my wood line. I'll go to your base. Oh, that's sick. I love it. And right now, Vasco is clearly looking elsewhere. The sergeant's running right through. Crossbows, though, finding the villagers. It's a slaughter. Man, Vasco's been so active with the armies. It's been incredible. Beautiful finds all the time. Finally, that monastery is going up. But pretty significant eco lead right now for Vasco. Has collected 1,500 more resources. And the GG's even called because the forward dungeon would go down and everything, even on water, was falling apart. So to start off Hidden Cup 5, this has not been that close. They've been interesting competitive games. This game was certainly more interesting than the first. But Vasco da Gama is certainly one of the strongest players in the event. And Pachacuti is going to need to turn it around or their Hidden Cup life is over. They went for Sicilians. They tried something different. This was a prepped strategy, and I think we need to salute Pachacuti for that. But the play that I was kind of expecting on this map was more of the Archer and Navy combination, at least from the best players, and that's what Vasco did. We'll look at the eco now. Look at this eco balance, guys. Look at this. Like, it's not just the fights, but the eco balance is just perfect here a whole way across the board. He never had too much stone. The wood, the food, the gold, everything was just so clean. I loved that there. And, I mean, how can you not be excited for Vasco da Gama right now, being up 2-0 here in the first round? Here we are, folks. Game number 3 on day 1. First series of Hidden Cup 5. I hope you guys have enjoyed things so far. And we've got Lithuanians against Turks. Turks, I'm expecting. Lithuanians, not something that was necessarily jumping out at me. A great civilization to boom into the late game, though. And on this map, there's lots of resources. This map here, Bypass, was something that came to my brain during a very weird dream like 3.5 years ago, after the devs included Hideout in the ranked map pool for one too many weeks. And I had one too many arena players queuing up, and I had to play one too many Hideout games. And I was like, man, if only I could go through the middle of the map, that would be great. And then eventually we worked this out. So you've got the middle of the map. We'll focus on that here first. And that middle area between the players where the relic is, it's important to note that while that is accessible, the sand there is not buildable, which means castle drops cannot happen directly in the middle. Okay? Now, you can wall on the, right next to that and maybe protect that. And that's what some players will do. Some players may choose to protect that. But then on the outside, if you were to get pressured in the middle, let's say, by a tower rush, on the very sides, you've got lots of hunt and stone and gold to eventually expand to. So it's one of these things where the directions you move, the directions you go, and where you choose to diversify your economy is really important. And then, of course, the theme is, are the players going to be scouting each move? We'll see how it goes. So I've seen some crazy games. And the craziest games I've seen on Bypass have always been when a player castle drops. Vasco da Gama has gone for the Turks. I personally am feeling like a castle drop next to the palisade walls in your own base is like a really good play here. And if you're Lithuanians, how are you going to deal with that? Well, shout out to that goat. That is the goat right there, guys. The goat opening the gate there so the zebra can be pushed in. I do think feudal age aggression is a possibility because of the palisade walls. With Lithuanians, I would think they really want to be on something like Latus or Nightline. If they can get there, maybe in combination with their good trash units in the late game, it would be really strong. But there is still a worry because Vasco da Gama has access to one of the best unique units in the game, at least for early Castle Age. Can you survive the early Castle Age? I mean, these games have been, 22 minutes so far? These have been pretty short games compared to what could be possible. It does feel like possibly a favorite against someone who maybe came through in the qualifier or something along those lines. It's so tricky to call, though. It's fun, though. So Pachacuti has hidden forts as well. It was hidden forts and Arabia saved as home maps, but at this point, you feel like you've got to win this one, right? You lose this game, you're down 3-0. I mean, winning 4 in a row would be brilliant, but it's unlikely with how good Vasco is playing that that's going to be a possibility for you. So I'm thinking maybe a fast castle into monks here from Pachacuti. And we just have to wait and see if we see any stone be mined from Vasco da Gama. Want to do a preemptive shout out to everyone who has bought tickets for the live viewing parties. We sold out the live viewing party in the UK in less than 2 days. I was like, maybe we can get 250 people to watch Hidden Cup 5. I thought 250 might be too much. We sold out in less than 2 days. So to those that bought those tickets the many weeks ago to watch in London, thank you. You guys watching live will get to see them briefly when the main event, when the final happens on the final day, as we'll have some footage there. Also, to those that have purchased and maybe still considering purchasing the meetup for the live viewing party in the U.S. If you're in the U.S., it's very last minute now to make travel plans because it is March 3rd. We're doing this meetup. But if you'd like to get to that meetup and viewing party, you'll get to see the third place match, the final, and everything live. And there's been a lot going into that. All I'll say is I have way too many pictures of Doubt's face in my house right now. I'm going to leave it at that. Is Vasco pushing another zebra from the... What? Vasco is pushing a zebra from Narnia back home. Vasco's like, well, I got nothing else to do. There's literally nothing else to do on this stupid map, T90. I mean, that is a long journey. And there goes Vasco now, pushing in the zebra. Greedy, 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 greedy boy, whoever this Vasco da Gama player is. So whoever you consider to be the greediest player who'd be up 2-0 here in Hidden Cup, whoever it is, them confirmed. Look at him go! Look at him go! That's crazy. I mean, we laugh at it, guys. But on this map, when you're Turks, I don't really think you need to speculate. And by the way, we do not have any stone being mined, so this could just be typical arena approach from Vasco. But okay, now how do you get the gate to open? Okay, so the wall was deleted. Got it. All right, wall was deleted. Zebra's on the way. I'm kind of rooting for the zebra here, to be honest. Yeah! Yeah, let's go, zebra! Freedom! Go the other way! Yeah, screw this Vasco guy. Yeah! All right. Well, he's obeying orders now. And that zebra is most likely going to die. But he goes towards something good, and that's probably going to be lots more scouts and light cav here from Vasco. Actually, that zebra is needed. Quite a few Dark Age farms added here from Vasco. 4 villagers on gold. Again, no villagers on stone. And Pachacuti also has not sent any villagers to stone or anything. So, all things in some ways that were expected. There's the stable now. And then we have the market. So this is going to be a scout approach from both. And they will consider competing for relics all throughout the map. Then, of course, they have like the additional option of getting the relic in the middle, which is nice. So it's like you have the relic in the middle, which you might want to contest for. You could be aggressive through the middle, so you could always add siege. Lots of cool possibilities here. But I wonder where you build your TCs. Like, I think because they are farming so much already, and especially with the Lithuanians get extra food when they build each TC, so I think it would make sense to not take the risk and run out there. Okay, hold on a second. Blacksmith Market? This feels to me like Vasco is going to go to stone, but Vasco's going to go to stone with a lot of villagers here in a second. I think we're going to see... Oh my god, he's doing it again. Vasco, you need to chill. Are you kidding me? All right, well, this zebra will get to live. I mean, unless Vasco wins the fight. Okay. Nice hits. And now at this point, Vasco can go right back to the zebra. I mean, listen, listen, it's not like... I can't judge them that hard for it, but it is fairly extreme. Like the other one, maybe it's got where we shouldn't be laughing, but this one's just ridiculous. And Pachacuti's like, no, not on my watch. You are not going to get this. And it's going to lose the scout. And Vasco's like, ooh, I can go back to pushing the zebra. But now we've got the other scout coming in, and now Vasco's going to run. Very surprised. I felt like with this uptime that it would feel natural to go for... What happens here? Trap? Oh my god! The wall there! Vasco decided not to use the gate and instead to just time the palisade wall. That was impressive. But again, I am surprised that we are not seeing a little bit more investment into either map control or army from Vasco. It feels like a full boom game from Vasco at the moment. And there are those relics, guys. You get Lithuanians those relics, they get all that extra attack on their knights. This is a fast Imperial Age. What? Oh my god, guys, listen. I gotta restate this. So, you know, I have no control over the games. None. I have zero control over the games. What I can control is the overlays, the commentary, the prep, the videos, you know, all these things we've worked on for months. But I can't control what types of games we get. And so, you know, you're always hoping for dream scenarios, these dream games. This Fast Impier is taking me back to like 2015. This is not something you frequently at a high level. Now, you do maybe see it a bit more frequently at the mid-level because it's very strong, and we're going to explain the reasons why. But a straight-up 1TC Fast Imperial Age here for Vasco da Gama. And the reason this can be strong is because Turks get chemistry for free in the Imperial Age. So we'll likely see some archer ranges added at one point. And with archer ranges, there will be hand cannons. And it's going to be hand cannon, bomber cannon through the middle. Meanwhile, Pachacuti's building up some monks and is scared, I think, in some ways to move towards the middle because there might be some army there. Now, there's a relic on the way. You're going to have another relic on the way. These monks move to the middle. Like, thank you very much. I love these relics. Second town center is up for Pachacuti. Both TCs are producing villagers with consistency, so vill count will rise. But how do you stop the Turk gunpowder? There's the barracks now. Now, it's going to need to be barracks. It's going to be archer range. Here's a highlight from earlier. And, I mean, that's just so well timed from Vasco. Light cav comes to the middle there. And that light cav is going to back away. So knows there's quite a few monks out there. Good stuff. Okay. So the question now is, how do you stop this? And anything that involves fortifying the base is really tough because the bombard cannons can always just bombard it down. So initially, I was thinking stone walls. I actually think that would still be helpful. The monks are truly the most important thing here because monks actually still, even in Castle Age, outrange hand cannons. But Pachacuti cannot see any of this. Pachacuti has no clue. Now, maybe the score, I think the score at the bottom right is an indicator. I think maybe the up times, if these are players that have played a lot of games, they probably should have an idea of like, wait a second. 20-minute fast imp. And then, of course, the alert comes in. And Pachacuti's like, huh? And we're going to see a couple of Hussars out of that stable. And now the hand cannons and now the bomber cannons are coming out. But if Vasco da Gama loses any of this, it could just be game over. Because it's like so... This whole build is designed to kill fast. You do not have the economy to make a lot more. Every unit needs insane value here for Vasco da Gama. And do you want to... Oh, as we see the devotion tech coming in now, just to resist some conversion. Do you want to engage with the bombard cannon? Assuming the opponent doesn't have redemption. Also is Castle Age monks, so the bomber cannon could maybe do it. Monks are moving around. We've got a big push through the middle. Pachacuti actually pushing the fast Imperial player, but the Hussars are now there. Now let's see how the monk control is. The monk control is not that good for Pachacuti. I didn't see many units targeted. And there are players who people were guessing who might have targeted a few more monk units with monks there. And most of the attack here, most of the monks are just going down. That was brutal. Now, there's still that random ram. That's gotten taken care of now. But it's soon going to be Vasco with a couple Hussars, a bombard cannon, and hand cannons now. And Pachacuti still feels like the only plan is, the only option is actually to consider to go for monks. Now, what I think can work... Well, first off, Loom is kind of important. What I think could... in theory work here is if Pachacuti goes to the outside. If we see Town Center number 3, Town Center number 4, they're on the outside. There's lots of hunt out there that really helps you with the boom. Here we also have an engagement. Pachacuti kills a villager. First villager kill of the game. There's that. Here comes the Hussars now. There's the hand cannons. There's a lot more monks. Still very curious to see how the... Ooh, more scouts. Still very curious to see how the monk control is here. Because a player like Ganji or Barles, you would think, would have the monks on like 5 control groups. And you're almost always going to see something like 5 conversions. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Now, everyone in the top 16 should be doing that. It's in the real heat of the moment, I think, is where you have to judge a player. But hey, Pachacuti holding on. Pachacuti, 3 relics. Pachacuti, another TC. 3 TC booming. Pachacuti has pikes for the Hussars now. Pachacuti has monks, which can convert the hand cannons. Let's see again, another example. It's not happening all that quick here. It's not really happening at all. All the monks are going down, and yet again, another good engagement for Vasco da Gama. The bombard cannons and the hand cannons have done so much work here, and this is just thousands of gold disappearing when you're losing monks like this. It is not cheap. Devotion tech obviously helping to a degree because of the conversion resistance. And those bikemen are going to hop inside the ram and wheel their way out of here. But 2 games down already, Pachacuti has got to be concerned right now that this player up against him here, Vasco da Gama, just cannot be stopped. Now the monasteries are next to all of this. So as you try and send monks behind your TC, it's possible you'll lose some. And this fast imp has just continued to find value. What is the red inside Vasco da Gama's base right now, actually? Did I miss something? Did something get converted? Vasco has red. I guess he converted that. And I missed it. Down confirmed. He converted the opponent's market, guys. Down confirmed, bro. I'm telling you. I mean, obviously, he probably had redemption and just wanted to convert what he could. The monastery is going down. You do think when you're up against all this pressure, you keep trying to remind yourself. You say, my opponent is all in. If I hold, I'm okay. If I defend, I'm okay. I can stabilize. 1 round of good conversions. Like right there, this is what I was talking about with players who are good with monks. That type of targeting is what we're expecting. This is what's possible with monks. The attack rounds from the bombard cannons, though, are doing an incredible job at killing these monks. Look at those monks go down. And that has really been the key. Those bombard cannons have killed 9 units, probably all monks. Now, if this is Imperial Age, you can't be doing this. But when it's Imp versus Castle Age, the monks are still only at 9 range. I am loving Pachacuti's fight, though, and I'm loving how Pachacuti now recognizes that he's got to be a little bit more selective with his moments. Forward Monastery now from Vasco. Vasco wants to steal those relics. It feels like, though, you can't lose. Even though you can expand to the outside, I'm not sure you can realistically lose your main base right now. You have to defend from this. So converting a bombard cannon would just be so important here. And the monks continue to get sniped. This micro is just incredible. I think the devotion tech, villager just gets deleted. I think the devotion tech combined with the range and then the micro from these bomber cannons has been incredible. But even more TCs being added from Pachacuti. Res collected 2,500 resources higher right now for Pachacuti as we see the relics quickly get relocated. This is the starting TC. The starting TC is getting pushed right now. Hand cannon number is higher than it ever has been. It's up to 12 now. So now, if 4 or 5 conversions even happen, I'm not sure it swings a fight. Boom, big shots again. There you go. Casual as you like there from Vasco. Don't mind if I do. Boom, big shots again. Monks continue to die. This has got to be insane. Like, resources destroyed is on our second tab with the stats, and if we find a moment, we'll show it to you. Because resources destroyed has got to be ridiculous with all these monks going down. This is unbelievable. 9,000 resources destroyed so far from Vasco. And that's not gonna change, by the way. That is gonna continue because this attack is getting more and more potent. This is absolutely ridiculous. And it feels like Pachacuti could be broken here. More monks go down. More monks continue to die to the cannons. And Vasco just so calculated with the micro. More monks go down. And Vasco de Gama's up 2-0. And he's looking for more. And the GG is called. It is a 3-0 lead for Vasco da Gama here. We had 40 monks produced, 26 pikes. I mean, the army count is actually really good there from Pachacuti. If you were to combine all those things, right, and have them fight, I think maybe Pachacuti wins. But it was the timing of it. And then, of course, the brilliant unit control there from Vasco, who, again, I think the theme here continues to be, whoever this player is, extremely strong when it comes to using range units. Every game has been a focus on range units here for Vasco da Gama, and Vasco da Gama has been happy to delay economy at times when needed to go for the army first. So I don't know what that means for you. I don't know what you know about our scene, but there are some big names out there who are extremely aggressive and love that style, and that's what people will be chatting about. I do think it's hilarious that the third most created unit from Pachacuti was 8 hand cannons that he converted there. 83 to 9 KD, folks. I'm not fake hyping this. That might be one of the best KD ratios you'll see the entire tournament. 83 to 9, a 9-0 KD there. And then, of course, the economy was actually pretty good for Pachacuti, but it wasn't enough. Wow. I have to say, Vasco da Gama is blowing me away. And Vasco da Gama is immediately first series, T90 jumping to conclusions, but got to be one of the favorites, right? Can Pachacuti get a win on the board? We will see. And I was wondering what we would see. It is going to be hidden forts. So there's been a few attempts now from Pachacuti to try and use the strategies that were practiced on some of the new maps. And this is one of them. This is hidden forts. Now, people do call this the bat map for whatever reason. It'll be great to see Alfred the alpaca on the bat map. I think Alfred should definitely pick the bat map as a home map. But this hidden forts, and the way this map works is simple. Well, actually, no, I take that back. It is not so simple. But an element of the map that is simple to understand, at least, is that you need to cut to access the middle. So players could possibly chop through those trees and then access some of the rhinos towards the middle. Now, here's where I find this map is really fun. You don't have to. You have enough stone, you have enough gold, you have enough food available on the outside. You have enough wood. Those trees there, those very tiny trees, they actually have more wood than the other trees. It's 150 wood per tree. So if you don't want to play that game towards the middle, you don't have to. But there is incentive to do so, and we'll see what ends up happening here. Vasco da Gama has gone for the Burgundians. And the Burgundians are a civ that played on a lot of closed maps, arena-style maps. So arena itself, or if you know fortified clearing from other tournaments, fortified clearing is also an example of a map where Burgundians shine. And this does have fortified clearing elements, but of course you need to open up the clearing, and things aren't fortified. Like, you have to fortify this yourself. Arena players would probably not like this, right? Because you guys like to start with the fortifications. Here, the players just have to put in a little bit more work for that. Burgundians get the eco upgrade 1 age earlier. So we will likely see, well, we already did see that wood upgrade hop in. And then that applies to all eco upgrades. So we'll see that continue to be the trend here. Whereas on the other side, I think the big thing for Khmer on mixed maps, or closed maps rather, is that they can skip steps, which means they don't need their buildings to unlock the next age. If they want to go for a stable or an archery range, they don't need the barracks first. And that allows you to find some pretty interesting timings. And so on this map, when you know the Burgundians are going to be pretty comfortable economically, I think we'll see something extreme. And I think Pachacuti is trying to Pachacuti in towards the middle. I know it's a bad joke, but it might be the last time to make a joke about Pachacuti's name. So I had to go for it. And there we go. Trying to path cut through the tree, get to the middle, and hopefully look around for some rhinos. Now, again, we did a great deal of practice games on this. And so I found personally that I would always want to be a deer pusher. So I'd be doing this. I'd be pushing in the zebra, and I would just hope that I could find multiple rhinos if I ran to the middle with a Vil. But you quickly are reminded that villagers do not have that much line of sight compared to a scout. So I'm curious to see what happens when Pachacuti gets through here, because it's very likely Pachacuti's thinking, I can have the best of both worlds. I can get multiple rhinos. I can also push my deer. But you do need to also scout that. Now, we spread out the rhinos, so it's unlikely to take too easily. It should be spread out, so it's like more often than not just going to be one. But it is worth looking at. Now, another thing, that stone terrain behind the trees, that does not allow you to build on. So you cannot wall out the opponent in full. You'd have to actually make army. Someone asking, are donations going to the prize pool? Donations are 50-50 split between the stream and the prize pool. So yes, and it's all live. It's all happening all the time for those that want to contribute. We have a pretty fast feudal age here from a red player. And Vasco da Gama says, take that rhino. Thank you very much. Is still pushing in the zebra at the same time. And might even go for rhino. So this feels like a fast castle for Vasco at the moment. See the scouts now coming to the middle. So actually, Vasco gave up on the deer to bring the scout to the middle. And both players are going to bring their scouts to the middle now. Okay, there's one of the rhinos. A bit unfortunate there for Pachacuti. But didn't scout it. Rhino should be going through for Pachacuti now. Awkward, but it's doable. There we go. Rhino's going to go through. Yep, perfect. This feels like it's going to be scouts to me, honestly. And now the scouts encounter each other towards the middle here. And villager! Oh, man, that was extremely close there for Pachacuti. Pachacuti should be fine. In 5 seconds, feudal age kicks in, which means that Vasco da Gama could have trouble with his scout. I don't know if Vasco was expecting this or not, but he fights it back. He's got the weaker of the two scouts now because he's an age down. And interesting that he didn't immediately palisade that. Like, he has no fear, this guy. He's like, sure, come through, because I read this game better than you, and I know that you're not going to be through. You're not going to have any army to do anything, so I'm just going to leave it open. Or I can fight it off. Extreme confidence from Vasco, I have to say. There we go. Rhino gets brought in. Obviously, that's a lot of food. It's questionable. We are not seeing the Rhino is being weakened by the TC here, which I think should be a tell. Now, last Hidden Cup, I made a video. I called it the most boring video of the tournament, and nobody laughed at it. Thanks, guys. But it was about boars and how players took their boars. That was right when the meta began, where players were weakening the boars with their TC. And there is one player who still doesn't do it as frequently, loves the Sicilians, and his name is Doubt. Interesting strat there to build the house there. I'm not sure exactly what the house accomplishes. Maybe it gives some vision. Behind this, Pachacuti going to drop a stable. And will we see Castle Age? Yeah, it looks like we're going to see a really reasonable Castle Age. Wow. Oh, that's funny how you can see the Rhino coming through. Wow, so the players are taking way more Rhinos in the middle than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe they take one. Really interesting to see this. Again, like, there's no meta before the actual tournament happened. These guys will be playing practice sets, but they might have different opinions. You see how the TC weakens that there? You see what I mean? Pachacuti was distracted with other things, but we didn't see that every time. That's how I would describe Doubt, by the way. Doubt doesn't do it every time, but he does do it. And again, we haven't had any castles that have been failed, so... yeah, I don't know. I think when you're taking the 4th, 5th, 6th Rhino, you might not do it as much. We haven't seen Cav Archers yet, which is something you might associate with Doubt. It's interesting. Vasco has played insanely clean. And we've got scouts now. Those scouts could obviously go towards the middle. The scouts could obviously go towards the outside as well. And we are going to see scouts from both players now. Something that I think is really smart and something maybe only experienced arena players would do is what Pachacuti has done with that scout at his farm. We'll see in a second. Because this is happening. Ooh, kills that scout. Okay, so that's an example. Okay, so Arabia players will send their weak scout out. But if you look back, please, to the main TC. See that? Okay, this is huge, right? We have a guy who likes open maps, who doesn't like closed maps in Vasco, okay? We have a guy who's experienced on closed maps, who wants to heal that scout up to go for the Relic War. That is a really big difference between the two. And Vasco will be possibly regretting losing that scout. And we have a TC towards the middle here, immediately from Pachacuti. And finally, Vasco is going to patch up that wall, that opening. But this means that Pachacuti is going to have control of the middle here. And it seems like, imagine if you could wall behind that. If you could wall behind that, obviously this would change the entire map, but you cannot do so. So Pachacuti has to be careful. And there's the second TC. Res collected's higher for the Burgundians. This is to be expected. Now, you begin to worry about your wood line because your main wood line, pretty much for both of them, this might change in a second with the new TC from Vasco, but the wood line is an area you'd want to be closed in most cases, right? There, Vasco's going to open it up. Light Cav are going through. The Light Cav are going to see a monastery, and they're probably like, great, this is why I exist. There's no relics in the middle. I find the monastery in the middle very out of place. And the quick walls happened from Vasco da Gama. It was not something you need to do here, guys. You're doing so many different things, but if you can do it, if you're an elite talent, the quick wall happens. And as the speculation continues on who this player might be, Vasco up 3-0 right now. Just feeling that confidence. Beautiful quick wall with the villagers there on the gold. Beautiful reaction. And is now going to chase away the Light Cav. Even goes for some gates. Thinking about some traps. Here we have villagers now from Pachacuti on the outside to expand the eco that direction. But wait, we've got the wood line as an issue now. And Pachacuti finding a good moment. Villagers fighting back, though. I don't think I would advise that, but eventually you will kill the Light Cav. We also have the monk exposed, and the Monk, I think, saved in the TC. Well played from Vasco. Again, I'm really impressed with Vasco and the frequency in which Vasco just fights back with Vils and can leave Vils exposed. But I maybe picked a bad time to say this because this is the first time in maybe the whole series that Vasco's really getting punished. Well played from Pachacuti. Finally getting a lead in one of these games. It felt like every game has been all about Vasco. Here's our look at the quick wall there. Boop, boop. It wasn't the quickest wall. I mean, that's fast, right? That's still superhuman, but it wasn't like, I don't know what is above superhuman, but it wasn't alien. Because we've got some players who can do some pretty out of this world quick walls. Viper de Gama would have a ring to it. I can agree with that. 44 villagers for Pachacuti. So far, the Ecos caught up, actually, and surpassed the Burgundians. There's TC number 3 now for Vasco. But I just think, like, right now, it is so awkward for Vasco da Gama because of that giant opening he cut towards the middle. So you want to play this outside type of game, but then you've got all this army towards the middle, and it's just like, it's not a fun feeling. Now, here we don't see any quick walling, any pre-walling, and Vasco da Gama really struggling with the amount of army that is coming out here from Pachacuti. And Pachacuti says, I'm not done yet, has killed 7 villagers and is looking for more. Finally able to get some rhythm here. And again, another quick wall. That one even more impressive. But still 7 villagers have gone down. Vasco da Gama has to find a way to turn this around. We could see some pikemen, maybe. If we see some pikes, would make sense against the Lycav. The Khmer could possibly go for scorpions against that, but still, you'd be forcing your opponent into something new. Or maybe for now, you feel like pikeman is a realistic option, and you just have to hope that you can just wall out the army. What a great game from Pachacuti. Also, I mean, my salutes go out to him as well, because the confidence does not seem to be an issue right now with some of these attacks. I think the game plan has been consistent throughout. This is clearly something that Pachacuti is sticking to, and I think sometimes if you're down bad, you begin to second guess yourself, and you'll see that a lot. Hopefully we don't see that in Hidden Cup 5 with so many good players. They should be at the top of their game, at the top of their confidence levels. But still, I think when you're down 3 games and you feel like you're maybe up against the big names, it could be bad. So, Lycav numbers should continue to grow, because I saw the second stable there. Lycav patrolling on the side, dead monk. Finally, Pachacuti able to get some things together. There's also a dead monk from him, though, towards the middle, and there's another one. The Lycav seem to be out of position right now. I mean, they're in position. They're where they want to be on the gold, too, and that's what's tricky. There's only so many Lycav, but that Lycav's going to go in. There is a weak villain there. I think that neither player is paying attention to this right now. And, wow. Yeah, there we go. Ends up getting saved. Never a doubt. 4 TC right now from Pachacuti. Okay, guys, remember that point where I said that there's a lot of doubt tendencies? Remember that point where I said we haven't seen a castle yet? Well, Stone is being mined, and we have another TC on Stone. If anyone... the position for Pachacuti is extremely strong right now with map control and eco. If this castle somehow doesn't go up, it's doubt confirmed. There has been no better position in this series to get a win. There is a massive advantage in terms of army control. I'm not even seeing a world where this castle, if he wants to place it forward, could be denied. Now, some players might place it towards... some players might place it in the middle and just play safe. But other players, they want to go for a castle that ends the game. And just when the castle foundation is placed, Vasco da Gama calls the GG. And finally, Pachacuti gets a win on the board. That was pretty wild. The fact that we saw the foundation for just like a moment. And Vasco da Gama already did the calculations and felt like, okay, this isn't enough for me. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a really big lead for Pachacuti. Vasco was really struggling to get more army out in the field. And I also think for Vasco, the reason there maybe wasn't as much fight may have been due to the fact that it's a best of 7. He was already up 3-0. You go down 3-1. It's not maybe that big of a deal. A good game. Honestly, and I felt like some of the small details from Pachacuti really showed. I felt like saving the weak scout was really nice. We saw the monks get picked off there at various times. There's the KD for you. If you look at the eco, the Khmer really able to remain competitive with the Burgundians here, I felt, which is very rare. And I think if it's a map where where you already have the walls at the start of the game, then Burgundians may shine more. But here, yeah, Civ and Khmer, which isn't necessarily known for the boomy maps, was actually able to do really well. So very comfortable play there from Pachacuti. That was impressive. And we'll move on. And here we are. First time I've seen this map in a very long time. We had different maps for the qualifiers that we did in the main event. And we saved this one, guys. This is Cup, a map that I originally wanted to look like a cup for the original, for Hidden Cup 2. Now, Mapu, if we could zoom out, this is probably the silliest thing Mapu's ever had to do in his entire observing career. Just a little zoom for me. Yeah, see, that looks like a cup, right? That looks like a weird little cup. That was the idea, but there's actually very serious strategic possibilities on this map beyond how ridiculous it looks. And as we zoom further in now, the water areas are disconnected from each other, but they're also in like the same position. And the way I see it is the water area between the players, more towards, I guess, like the right side. This has utmost importance because it is directly between player bases. So if you're going to go from one player's base to the other, that's where you're going to go, right? But there's also not as much fish, right? And there's also not as much space to really control. And then, of course, the other water area is an area which is more expansive and has the gold, but then again, that is not directly between you and the enemy, okay? Now, I say water. The part of that terrain is also units that land units can pass on, as you can see there on the left of your screen. So it is a hybrid terrain. It's a terrain we could see more on a map that we saw in the qualifier, Mudflow, for example, which these players didn't draft for their series. So that's basically the breakdown. Again, pros and cons. Where will the players choose to pressure? And, where are they going to go? A lot of this comes down to scouting. We've got Koreans for Vasco, which I didn't even notice at this point. We've got Pachacuti now. And, oh man, Pachacuti runs into the TC a little bit. Yeah, Pachacuti's playing as the Britons. Can we see... Can we go over to Pachacuti's TC? Did he bring in his second boar yet? He's a... Okay, important moment. We got to see how Pachacuti brings in this boar. Okay, let's see. Does the boar get weakened with the TC? It should. I did my research. Every main event player does it for the starting boars. Okay. Okay, so that looked normal, right? So our speculation in the previous game was maybe a little preemptive. That seemed standard stuff for most of the pros here. Again, Doubt does it the least, but he does still do it if you're speculating on players. Well, I like Koreans. So I think Koreans are a good choice here in the late game. I would say that the Britons are maybe a bit better for the early game. They have the sheep bonus. The archer range production speed could be nice. Britons were actually picked a lot here in the past. And Britons are being seen a lot more in... they were seen a lot more in the qualifier and also in the main event when compared to other recent events. I think that's because these maps, they have the standard start. There's lots more uses for the militia on some of these maps, and they might have something to do as well. Like, this map's pretty close. I feel like that extra range that the Britons get could potentially be stronger on a map where mobility is not as big a factor. I mean, it is a factor, but not as big a factor overall. Vasco's checking the shoreline right now, and he doesn't see any docks. And now he sees the villagers there, and he doesn't see a barracks yet. So this might create some level of confusion. Now, Pachacuti's scouting is now all the more important because Pachacuti is probably looking to drush something, and Pachacuti doesn't see a dock there and doesn't know about the dock on the other side. So these are the types of things you look for on this map. And now that dock is going to be found. Perfect. So this drush is designed to simply disrupt the fish. And you can also do exactly what Vasco did and position your fish on the water so the militia can't hit. But unfortunately for you, Vasco, eventually, if you want that food, you have to go drop it off at the dock. So it's so weird because you want to be doing immediate damage if you're a player. And so as we see the fishing ships get blocked here, I don't think these militia, I don't think it's a bad play at all, but you have to fight this idea in your mind that you're not doing enough. And fight the idea to leave the dock. I think staying at the dock is actually correct, even though you haven't killed anything yet. So now what I'm expecting here, guys, your opponent has to respect that you already built a barracks and could go for archers as the Britons. What I think would make a lot of sense is if you mind game and you actually dock this side and just add in fire galleys to just go kill those fish. We'll see what ends up happening. You only have so much wood. Do you go for a second dock if you're blue? Do you go for an archery range? Do we see a dock from Pachacuti here? God, the scouts and the militia must be so annoying here. You guys probably didn't think you'd be seeing fishing ships get microed in Hidden Cup 5. But yep. Yep. Can't quick wall with a fishing ship. And there's the dock. That is really smart. That is a really smart dock. Really nice unit control here from Pachacuti. I'm really liking Pachacuti's position right now. What's interesting is, so we have the fire galley from Vasco's original dock, but now we have a second dock on the other side. And no archery range there from Pachacuti. Dock there was not expecting at this point. I was expecting maybe a bit of an archery range play. The positioning of that dock is brilliant, right? Because Vasco's checking the more standard approach, which would be to dock here. Is probably confused. Now, they just talked to each other. Yes, yes. That was most likely there was a pause for a moment, and then they just taunted. No one wants to talk. No one even wants to say sec, right? Because it's like, no one wants to say sorry. No one wants to say ready, because certain players say certain things. So they're just using the taunts there. This is interesting. And we've got militia looking around, still looking for damage, still being annoying. Scout just passing there. And it's going to be double dock for Pachacuti in that area. And now you've got annoyance on this side with the spearman and the starting scout. Man, this Vasco character is able to get so much value from so little. It's crazy. And then the quick walls as well in the previous game. I mean, obviously lost. Quick wall attempt. Pachacuti Viper confirmed. No. Okay, no quick wall attempt whatsoever. Pachacuti doesn't have time for that. Koreans do not get access to demos? Oh, don't tell me he gets another one. And Koreans cannot get demos, so in a Fire v Fire Galley war, they usually lose out in the Feudal Age. Castle Age, they can make the Turtle Ship, and the Turtle Ship is really strong, so I think there you don't have too many issues with the Navy, but Korean Navy in Feudal Age is just a bit lacking. I like how active these militia have been. I like how both players have made the other work so much. And that villager, I think, was maybe considering going out there to build another dock herself. Is going to get found, and all those fishing ships will go down. But, I mean, over time, Vasco still got to bring in that food, right? And the opponent didn't have any fish. And Scout finally gets shot down there. Or poked down, I guess. There's no shooting involved with the spears. Spearman, militia battle. Greatest battle of Hidden Cup. Boom! Congratulations, Pachacuti. Not bad. Archers are being created from Pachacuti at home. Those archers should probably consider advancing forward at some point, but the scout is dead. And if your scout is dead, and you do not know if your opponent has defense for that, that could be a problem. I actually would love to see... Does he even know about that dock? It is very likely he doesn't know about this dock here. And so here come the archers. He didn't know about it. Good thing Koreans don't get demos, because if they did, that could have been a problem. Obviously, no fire ship there either, though, and the archers are on the way through. It seems like Vasco just wants to transition to Castle Age, and Vasco's like, I'm losing water now. I don't have any land control, and I need to tower. Instant tower here from Vasco. Pachacuti will also see the Market Foundation and might be thinking, okay, so he's going to go up to the next stage. I'm nowhere close. The archers are going to try and pass by the tower. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. And we have a trap. I mean, at least a partial trap, but it should lead to both the archers going down. And a well-executed trap there from Vasco. At the same time, I think Pachacuti a little too desperate for damage being down 3-1. Because that one, it felt like it was a little expected. Beautiful play nonetheless. Pachacuti down 3-1, needs to make it to Castle Age. Will also drop a market at home. And that market is up, and we're seeing food being purchased here. But we said Koreans in Castle Age, if they have those docks, turtle ships could be really strong. And I mean, both the docks are standing. Castle Age is on the way right now for Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama is probably feeling very little pressure. And Vasco da Gama is also on stone. Koreans get the guard tower upgrade for free in the next stage too. And I am really loving the diversity of civilizations we have seen in this series. I'm hoping this doesn't set the bar too high. Obviously, I think sometimes you see the same civilizations, and those civs always produce the best games because certain civs have the best options for the maps, and thus, I think players can do more. But like, Sicilians, Koreans, Khmer, we've had some really interesting ones. Obviously, really interesting maps as well. We haven't seen any of the standard maps. Majority of these maps have been all the main event maps so far. I was expecting more qualifier maps to be featured. Here's the house wall. Now, again, I think, like, that's desperate right there. So I hate to show a highlight and then say, like, also that shouldn't have happened. But that's how brutal I'm going to be at times because we're talking the highest level. And that's honestly how it goes sometimes. Stable now from Vasco. Maybe just a knight or two. That could be nice. And I'm definitely getting some memories of that pretty much being the way certain players would play it, even all the way back in Hidden Cup 4, guys. One knight, two knights to get some value, and then opt right for the economy. That's what some of the best players would do. I'm thinking Viper. I'm thinking Hera. I'm thinking big, big names, and maybe favorites to win the whole thing. Scout still moving around on 3 HP. Running all around. And there is an outpost on the water there for Pachacuti as Pachacuti finally makes it to Castle Age and is immediately going to upgrade these ships. Love the outpost. Britons have second TC. There goes the second town center. It will be the same for Vasco. And this might go late. Which makes me think, which civilization is better in late game? I mean, normally Britain's late game is really strong. Koreans are a really tough civ to break, though. I feel like the keeps. I feel like maybe the skirms. I think whatever else could be incredibly strong. Fire's just taking out the house there. I'm being told Mapu, our observer, can't hear me at the moment. And he did say, as we have a little bit of a demo there, he did say that thank God immediately afterwards. But he didn't say that to me. That was passed along from my admin. So thank you, Mapu. We'll get that fixed. Just kidding. He didn't say that. And Fire's moving on both sides now. And this seems like good control over the waters right now for Pachacuti. And the area you really want to control would be the area with the gold, which is the bigger water area. The upper region of the Cup Swamp. Korean Knights are some of the worst Knights in the game long term. But a Knight has solid base attack. A Knight has solid stats. So a couple Knights could be strong. But I'm curious to see how many we really see in the long run here from Vasco. So, guys, here's the here's what I would say is a notable thing to think about. Well, first off, demos. Tato confirmed? No. Notable thing to think about here. That the Vasco da Gama, who's winning 3-1, is able to shift from being that aggressive player who's all in, or like 1 TC aggression like game 1 if you watch that, but also very comfortable to be very boomy. And I think that really shows the depth of this player's skill and comfort. Because you can sometimes see those aggressive players win, but then when it, if the game goes late, they maybe make some decision problems. But the decision-making has been on point here from Vasco. I also think on the flip side, Pachacuti, if the game doesn't fall apart early, seems very, very capable, which is exactly what we're seeing here. And those knights looking around right now for some damage are going to see the monk, but now there's a demo and boom! It's unfortunate the monk can't swing that little staff he has because those knights could get them then be killed. And look at Vasco. Vasco immediately runs home to go heal them up. Those knights might feel brand new here in just a second. If that knight makes it home, that'd be hilarious. Are you kidding me? That knight's actually, wow. Using the path, Vasco's actually able to get all those knights home and sits right next to the shoreline to even taunt the opponent there. Man, I'd be thinking maybe I would want to go for like a couple galleys or something. If I went for galleys, maybe I'd be able to snipe those monks, but it's probably not worth it. Here's the demo. Big shot. Boom. Kato, known for those demos. And those knights just go right back out there. Dude, are you not scarred? Are you not scared? I'd be terrified. And, oh, man, now the scouts go in to kill the monk as well. And scout does get converted, but monk goes down. And now ships are getting converted. Man, Vasco da Gama says, I'll just convert your navy, dude. I don't even need to get the war galley upgrade. I'll just steal your war galleys. Or, well, your fire ships in this case. Beautiful play. Monks still out there. Demo looking for the scouts. Again, they are booming at the same time. They are expanding their economies. So we are looking at the action, but they are looking at their eco, and these ecos are going to be ridiculous. Okay, if there's ever a point, though, to consider maybe adding lots more army, lots more ships, this would be it. I want to see elite turtle ship in this game. Man, Vasco continues to convert some ships. Seems like Pachacuti was able to get one demo. Another demo. Just misses out, but the monks are weak. The monks are weak. And boom, bam, the monks are dead finally. I'm sure that was such a frustrating couple moments there for Pachacuti. And Pachacuti able to get some revenge there on the monks who converted the ships. Those ships are going to be a problem, by the way. They are killing things over here. Houses and docks will start to go down, and players might want to build a castle there. There's also a monk bringing in a relic there. There's a castle coming up from Pachacuti, which is going to protect the shoreline of both sides. So it gives you coverage over both shorelines to add docks there. And speculation continues in my chat on who these players might be. But honestly, who gives a crap about that right now? Because this game is a quality one. This is amazing. I think for Pachacuti, it's a bit of a shame. You know, the start to the series was a bit slow, right? It was slow for him, anyways. Because the first two games were relatively short. They were really dominant from Vasco. But now, you know, game 3, game 4, now game 5, this is really close. And you really have to start thinking about, again, what do you do in the late game? We have a turtle ship. We have a turtle ship sighting. Now, turtle ships can be converted. Oh, God. He immediately regrets making this. He immediately regrets making this. No. No. He deleted it. Okay. Well, we saw a turtle ship, and then the turtle ship was deleted because he didn't want to give the opponent the turtle. Well, I guess that explains why we don't see them in Castle Age. Maybe though, as we head towards Imp, I do think the safer play though is just to go for galleons, and then maybe mix in cannon galleons later on. There's the Imperial Age already for Vasco. Just crazy eco. And those converted ships, guys, have done so much in the north. Like, the converted ships have taken out so many different things. Oh, God. Oh, God. Where are these vills going? Okay, well, no demos for Koreans, so I'm suddenly less scared. This is going to be a forward castle. This is a win the game fast, forget about water, forward castle here from Pachacuti. Down 3-1 wants to send a statement. This gold could be denied if this castle goes up, and I think the castle will go up. Meanwhile, Vasco has been planning about this area. So it's fun, right? One player controls the northern area, so they get the northern gold. This player then controls this area, and it's an easy stroll to the middle to build this castle. I do wonder, though, does Pachacuti recognize that the opponent is going to be in the Imperial Age so much faster? I think the forward castle is sometimes what you do when you think that you are going to win that imp race. And there's so many reasons why you would think that. The Britons have cheaper town centers, so you normally think that you're faster there. That's really the main reason why you would assume that you have more economy. There are 11 longbows. Those longbows will find it difficult to do damage, though. They're not that useful right now. My worry for Pachacuti is that the opponent is going to take the northern area. The opponent is then going to clear up this castle. Should be 2 trebs out here pretty quickly to be able to take out that castle. I do not see that castle staying up here for Pachacuti. Looks like players are also expanding a little bit or thinking about it in the north. Outposting there from Vasco. That is so good, dude. So, guys, there's always a neutral stone and gold over there. What I want when we organize Hidden Cup and when we give them that 10-day practice period is I want to show up, see the main event, and I want to see the players understand the maps, right? You guys are learning as we go. These players, they don't have time to learn. It's a knockout tournament. It's random brackets. It's cutthroat. And man, oh man, do they know these maps. They understand where to look for these things. They're on the top of their game. That monk. Oh, this would be hilarious. He could actually convert the full HP Vil and then kill the other Vil with her if he wanted to. The villager's just boxing down the monk for the time being. That is the castle Pachacuti is placing because he knows he is going to lose the other one. And who knows what will happen over there, but this castle will go down. Now, Warwolf tech is coming in. So, Warwolf helping the Treb War. We have a wolf. Wasn't what I meant when I said war and wolf. Warwolf is a technology, but there is indeed a war going on between a villager and a wolf there. Seems like the villager will survive for now from that woo-woo-woo. This is the area that's the problem now for Pachacuti. It just feels like Vasco da Gama has such a good position right now. Trebs took out one castle. They will now take out the next. And look where the docks are coming up for Pachacuti. Even the war wagon's there for Vasco to kill the villager. Wow, that's such high-level stuff, man. Because you could just feel happy that you delayed the TC and focus on everything else. But nope. Skirms now, picking off some monks, will be great for the longbows too. And those docks for Pachacuti, he's now docked in an area it doesn't really benefit from that much. But he felt like he needed something more. He is completely out-popped right now. And Vasco da Gama in our first round of Hidden Cup 5 is playing phenomenally well. And he might be one of the favorites to win the whole thing after this. He's killing all these longbows. He will take out the Treb with some leftover knights that he did such a good job keeping alive in the earlier stages of the game. And those resources are insane. I don't know if Vasco da Gama knows this, but you can't save your resources for the next round. You got to spend them. 170 pop, you can't spend them fast enough. Because none of the units that he actually has are dying, right? Every unit has found amazing value. And maybe here he loses his Treb because his opponent has Warwolf. That's why Warwolf was researched. But if you're losing your Treb there, when you have control of the rest of the map, I don't think you're going to be too upset. And there are some docks now for some additional Navy support in that area. I'd love to see the unique tech for the Koreans, Yipseong. And if we have that tech and some towers being dropped, I could see that being really tough to push. We do actually have the guard tower upgrade being researched now from Pachacuti. So, Britons do have solid towers as well. The population still high, but we are seeing a massive, stressed out of his mind overboom from Pachacuti. Pachacuti's population's at 175 because Pachacuti has 162 Vils with 10 more in queue. This is a 200 pop game. And when you are focused, when you know that if you lose this game, you're out of Hidden Cup, it makes sense that maybe you just be too distracted and too busy to realize that you're overbooming here. Meanwhile, Vasco's got 140 villagers and has stopped and is just using the rest of the population to add lots of strong army and is continually trebbing down TCs. We are seeing Pachacuti fight on, Not wanting to give up here. Not wanting to be knocked out of Hidden Cup. We don't know who Pachacuti is. We don't know who Vasco da Gama is. We won't find out until after the tournament completes. And it is kind of tough to truly feel comfortable saying these words because it is just the first series. But it does honestly feel like Vasco's got to be one of the favorites. We'll see what happens after more games, though. Just true command over the game. Great map control, great awareness. So solid in so many different settings here. And has found a way to get some trebuchets over onto this castle now. Again, when you're in Pachacuti's position, you're looking at your pop. You're fighting, and like you'll occasionally look at your pop. If you see your 160 pop, you're not backing out of Hidden Cup. Are you crazy? Unfortunately, it's like 160 pop. The majority of that's Vills. I mean, he's lost a lot of villagers here over the last few moments, actually, so that has changed. Vasco's made sure of that, but the castle does fall. And these wagons, man, they're extremely strong. Combined, of course, with that navy, and these wagons should be able to take care of the rest. Like have the last desperate attempt here from Pachacuti, and the GG is called. And we have, okay, speculation time. We have a caps lock GG in response from Vasco da Gama. And then, hear me out, guys. Pachacuti wished the opponent good luck next, which the majority of people do. But still, Pachacuti goes down, wishes the opponent good luck. And we will not see the rest of their conversation, of course. But wow, what a series. What a crazy series. And what a great job from Vasco da Gama to just be so greedy this game, right? Minimal investment into army, lots of economy. I mean, the Knights and the Monks, the Knights getting the kills they did with Koreans was wild. And then the Monks converting as much as they did with Koreans was also wild. The Koreans are not known to be a Knight Monk civilization. There's the KD. There's some of the conversion stats for you there on screen. But the big thing here, of course, is always going to be the economy. And so we're going to see economy now and see how this goes. And I mean, we'll see what it stacks up as at the end of the day here. But that was our first series at Hidden Cup 5, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed it. It was an amazing series. Vasco da Gama is going to move on. But please vote away by simply guessing who you think this player is. Right now, it seems like players seem to think it could be one of three players that many people might put towards the very top. Hera, Leary, and Viper. I am currently leaning towards Hera. I think there were a lot of Hera tendencies there. I think that the way that he played that could easily have been Hera. I'm also going to say that Hart, because he plays so similarly to Hera, is actually a guess that I could have thought of as well. But clearly, people seem to think, after the first series, Vasco da Gama is one of the three big names. We saw a lot of the players that came through the qualifiers. Barles and Ganji, they are players that people voted for. We have Ganji as the #1 vote. People seem to think that was Hera against Ganji. Ganji, of course, a player in his first Hidden Cup, if that were to be him. I don't know. Like, honestly, I am very uncertain. I could see it being ACCM, actually. I'm very torn. Like, we need to see more for me to be very comfortable guessing anybody right now. It's so tricky. People are like, I love how opinionated people are. Oh, I love it. This is so fun.